First up, how to copy paste cells or ranges. So how do I copy paste a cell? Well, here's my from cell. Click anywhere. Let's do 55. Right click, copy, find my target. Let's do this cell here. Right click and paste. We'll just do the first paste. And there we go. Now, while the wire rope's still going because I have it copied, I can click down one if I want to paste again, hit the Control D key. If I want to paste to multiple cells, I could highlight multiple cells, press Control D, or I could highlight multiple cells, right click, and do the paste again. And in that case, it's taking one source cell, copying it, and then pasting it to wherever I tell it to. Let's undo all of that. Now, what if I want to, instead of selecting a single cell, what if I want the whole block? Maybe I don't want the whole block. Maybe I just want this intersection. So you highlight your source range, Control C to copy it, or you could right click and copy either way. And then find your target, single cell, and then right click and paste. Or I could just hit the Control V key to paste. Next up, how to copy paste values or formulas only, not everything, just the values or just the formulas. So I've set up some sample cells here. These are all orange background. This is yellow background. There's some titles basically representing copy all cell contents, copy the value, copy the formula, the format, or the link. In here, we're going to put a equals 2 plus 3, a formula, and 5. There, now we're all set up to do some quick demonstrations of the copy-paste types and styles that are available. I've also made the format bold. So yellow background format, bold format, formula equals 2 plus 3 in our source cell, and value equals 5. So let's start demonstrating the different types of paste that are available in Excel. Right click, copy from our source, and then over here, right click, and we're going to paste that, everything. And voila, the bold comes across, the yellow comes across, so both formatting, the formula comes across, and the value 5. Everything comes across with that paste. Let's go over here and let's do the next paste. Let's do the value paste. And guess what happens? The bold is a format, did not come. The yellow is a format, did not come. The formula did not come. I said paste the value, and that's all it pasted was the value. Let's go back here. I have to recopy it. And let's try a formula. Right click, and we're going to paste the formula, a little FX there. When I hover, the title formula comes up. Oh, and you could do it over here as well. It's all the same. But I guess there's a few more options down here, other paste options. But I'm going to stick with the formula here. And the bold did not come through, formatting. The yellow formatting did not come through. The formula came through, and of course, with the formula comes the value. So that paste has formula and value. And our copy rope is still going, so let's go to the next one, and let's paste just the format, which is this guy, little paintbrush. If we paste just the format, no formula, no value, it is bold, but since there's no value, it's not coming up. So the yellow is there. Let me just type something in the cell. Yep, it's bold. Hit escape. So the formatting really did copy the formatting from this cell. Wire rope's gone, so let's go one more time. Right click, copy, and the last item is to paste a link. And there it is. So bold formatting did not come. Yellow formatting did not come. Value came, but it came because the formula, we said paste a reference. Well, a reference, this is kind of cool. The reference is not, the reference is not this style, B2. The reference it pasted, which is relative reference, the reference it pasted is an absolute reference with the dollar signs, and I'll explain that in one of the future videos about absolute versus relative links. But for now, just know that you can paste a link. And actually, I'm curious, if I go to sheet 2, if I come back here, if I copy, I'll use the same source. If I copy that source and go to a different sheet and right click and paste the link, yep, it gives me the sheet, exclamation, and then the absolute value with the dollar signs to B2. Nice. So you can, that's very nice. And that is all the different ways that you can paste. You copy the same every time, but you paste all, or the value, or the formula, or the formatting, or the link. And I should mention too, you can copy and you can paste a whole, if I want all those to be paste value, it's the same as regular paste. There you go. No formatting, no bold, no yellow, but it certainly filled up the range I selected with all the values. So that, in a nutshell, is all the different copy-paste options that you can do. Next up, how to copy, paste, and transpose, which is to invert rows to columns and columns to rows when you paste. To demonstrate a paste transpose, I've started by entering a bunch of temporary test data here, about 11 rows and 2 columns. I'm going to highlight that, and I'm going to copy it. But then the cool part comes when I find my anchor cell. Let's do E, and I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to paste the little transpose button here. And so what happened is I pivoted this row became, this column A became this row, and this column B, the 200 series, became this row. And let's just delete these. I can go the reverse way too. I can pivot back. I can copy these guys, right click, copy. I can go to the anchor point, upper leftmost part of the target cell, right click. Well, hey, we'll even just go over one. Right click and paste transpose, and there we go. Now it pivoted them back. So the trick there was the paste, pivot, transpose. I can do it over and over and over again. Pretty neat trick that you'll use sometimes when you import data and need to flip it around and do different things with it. Next up, rapid selection. So we're going to start this rapid selection demo off with a bunch of data that scrolls off of the screen here. Now, sure, you could use the mouse pointer, select your start point, and then push the left mouse pointer button down, and you could drag, and then you could select the range. But if you have pages and pages and 500 lines, you're going to be scrolling, and it's going to be time-consuming and tedious, and you're going to possibly scroll by the end, etc. So there's a faster, better way using keyboard shortcuts. So you start with the anchor point here, click it, and then I press and hold down the control key, which is going to jump direction. And then I also, while I'm still holding the control key down, I press and hold the shift key down for continuous selections. And then I pressed the right key, and that jumps me 3 columns over. And now I'm still holding down, well, I can let go. I let go of all the keys. There we go. I have 1 row with 3 columns selected. I'm going to go ahead and press down the control and shift again, or I could have held them on the whole time. And then I'm going to press down. Boom. I've selected the entire section just like that. And then I can go Control C to copy it. I can go Control Home to jump back up. I can right click and I can paste transpose, and voila. So that is a nice fast way to rapid select. Now let's undo it. I could do undo. I'm not gonna. I'm gonna go up to the top and Control Shift down, still holding Control Shift, and I'm gonna push right and then delete. Boom. Control Home, Control Shift down, and I'm still holding Control Shift and then right and delete. So very handy when you're rapidly selecting ranges of cells. Next up, repeat fill. I made up this term repeat fill, but basically anytime you have a column, in this case name, and you have some values in that column, anytime you do an adjacent entry, Excel is going to look up ahead, and as you type, it's going to go, oh, you mean Dan, oh, you mean John, and it's going to offer you the chance to hit enter and pre-fill the rest of the values. So let me give you an example. So these are all laid out. If I hit D, boom, Excel says, oh, you mean Dan. And I don't even have to type the rest of the word out. I can just hit the tab key or hit enter. Likewise, if there's a longer word, R, I, well, there's Richard and Rick, they're the same. C, nothing happens, nothing happens. As soon as I hit the H, boom, it's going to go, oh, you meant Richard, because that was enough characters to delimit Richard from Rick. And then I could hit enter and save it. Now, if you're typing in a giant sentence with 20 words, the same applies. So I believe Excel does this if you have a column with 10 or 15 or 20 values and they're repeating. It just saves you typing. You don't have to go copy paste it. You can just start typing into the cell, and Excel will look up and go from there. Now, I could do D again for Dan or Don or whatever when I'm in an adjacent cell. Watch what happens if I go down one and there's a gap. D, nothing. A, nothing. N, nothing. If I go to a different column, DA, nothing. It has to be adjacent, and then Excel looks up, DAN. So that is how the repeat fill works. And when you're really blasting along, entering a bunch of data, that's where it can be handy when you're filling out a column. Next up, AutoFill. So what is AutoFill? Well, Excel has built-in logic to recognize a pattern in any of your copy ranges that you start and then extend with a drag and drop. So it's easier just to show you. So let's go here. Let's do a pattern of 1, 2, 3. Now, if we want Excel to continue that, we highlight our starting range, and then we just grab the mouse pointer, goes to that little dot at the corner, and then turns to a plus, and then you just grab it and drag it. And Excel automatically figures out the pattern of adding 1 each and does so. And you could go on and on and on. You could drag it down for pages. There, I just did 110 of them. Control up arrow key to jump back. So that's an example of just adding 1 to a numeric value. You could do it the other direction too. 1, 2, 3. And I could drag it this way. And I could drag it down. When I drag it down, it's just going to copy the same pattern. Let's see, what else can we do? Those columns. Yeah, let's undo all this. We could instead do a pattern of 2, 4, 6. Excel's smart enough to figure that out. And we could do a pattern of 10, 9, 8. And Excel's smart enough to figure that out and go negative. What else can we do? We can do text, and this is kind of interesting. Days of the week. Monday, M-O-N-T-U-E. I'll just do 2. It should be smart enough to figure it out from 2. And there we go. Friday, Saturday, Sunday rolls back around to Monday. And it uses 3-digit abbreviations because that's what I started with in my baseline set of 2. Let's try full days. Monday, Tuesday. Let's see what it does. Should be smart enough to. And it is. So not only does it recognize days, but it recognizes months as well. February, Feb. We only need 2. Drag and drop it. There we go. December wraps around to January. And if I use full month names, it would recognize that too. So there's lots of patterns that the AutoFill recognizes. The trick with AutoFill is you have some values. Now, if I put in garbage and there's no pattern, when I do the AutoFill, it's just going to repeat that block of 3 over and over and over again. And that can be fine too sometimes. And finally, FlashFill. So FlashFill is pretty neat. What we're going to do is start out with a column of full names where the cell has the full name. And we're going to use FlashFill to automatically split the first names and the last names into 2 separate columns. So we're going to start off by clicking in the cell, and we have to give Excel a baseline. So we're going to give it Bart here and Simpson here. And so once this baseline is established, then we can tell Excel what to do. So we have Bart, which matches the Bart there. We're going to drag and drop, and when we do, it just copies Bart, which we expect. However, watch my mouse pointer. I'm going to go down to this little AutoFill option, so I'm going to hit the drop down. I don't want to just copy the cell Bart from cell B2. I actually want to do FlashFill. So I check that, and voila. Excel goes, oh, if Bart comes from there, then Homer comes from there, and Lisa comes from there, and it just goes through, and that's what a FlashFill is. Likewise, we can come to Simpson, drag it down. It starts off as all Simpsons, but we want a FlashFill, and now it got the proper last name split out. So that is how FlashFill works. Very handy. Alternatively, you could do formulas and equals this value and chop the leftmost characters up to the first space and take the mid string from. That's just a lot of complicated work. And if you can just do a FlashFill, way easier, nice and fast.